Okay, we are live. Not yet.
Not sir.
Yes, sir. We are in live, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining our first live session. My name is Bala Ramadurai. I have with me Professor Dmitry Kucharavy logging in from Strasbourg, France. Siddharth Maturi, he is logging in from Pune as well. The three of us, we offer this course on technology forecasting for strategic decision making. So this is, we have 3 live sessions during the course, and this is the first of the 3 sessions, and then one during the exam or just before the exam, not during the exam. We won't disturb you during the exams. We will have one just before the exams to help people who are taking the exams. We find that this is always convenient to resolve queries, to share your feelings about the course or the level of difficulty, any such thing you want to share with us. You can either use the chat on the Zoom here, or we also monitor the YouTube chat on the live sessions. Or if you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, you can always use the discussion forum, and we look at it. One of the 3 of us will definitely look at it and respond to your queries. Okay, so over to you, Siddharth. Say hello, both of you, and then we can get started from there.
Sure.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you for coming for our live session. And today we're supposed to answer your questions. For the next time, do not hesitate to submit your questions in advance. In this case, we will be better prepared, and we will satisfy your curiosity much better. Please, Siddharth.
Yes. Hello, all. Welcome to our first live session on technology forecasting. Like Bala sir has already mentioned, that we would like to sort of make this as a two-way communication, where we would like to see more questions coming in from your side and make this live session more interactive for us to sort of help us grow and learn in a better way. And I hope this live session helps us in framing in helping in resolving your queries as well, because we also have the discussion forum which we can be actively using and post more doubts on it in case you have, or if you have missed this live session. But please feel free to join in and voice out your queries here. Thanks. Yeah. And with that, I would like to sort of move into a set of questions that we've already received from our learners. Based on the Google form that was floated to all the learner base. So I will sort of, Bala sir and Professor Dmitry, if it's okay, I will sort of read out the question, and please feel free to pitch in with your thoughts and views about what you think on this learner's question, right? And the first question is technology forecasting for strategic decision making a general course that can be applied in every field?
Okay.
Is the question, and it was asked by Stella.
Okay.
So,
who is going?
Professor Dmitry. Yes.
Okay. First of all, let's just make clear something about dictionary before making clear about question. The short version of the answer for this question, not. The long question is a bit different. This technology forecasting for strategic decision cannot be applied for every field. It can be applied only for technologies. Okay, for forecasting future of technologies, changes, growing, dissemination of technologies, substitution of technology. But let us make clear what is technology. The technology, this is an engineered system. Okay, engineered, it means it is made artificially by people for people. Because there are different kind of system. If we see what is a system, this is a interaction of elements for common function. Okay, but there are some natural systems that exist all around of us, and there are some engineered systems. So engineered system, we are naming, we give them the shorter name technology, and usually those kind of technology we use in order to have solution for certain needs or to bypass certain limitation. For instance, I have a clothes because the weather is cold, so I need to protect myself. I use this technology, artificially made, in order to fulfill the common function, because as you can see, I'm not only in a t-shirt, I have a vest, I have other things. Okay, so this kind of system, we supposed to predict their future, and this course dedicated how to predict it not in a short term, like demand forecast, or not in the midterm, for instance, how to do something, but in the long term, in order to take decision about our strategy. Are we going to invest, for instance, for the technology like streaming music in India, or it's too late to invest in this technology and we need to invest in another technology? Or probably this is a good idea to invest to the downloading music. And when we are talking about forecasting, we are talking always in a particular context on which market, because the answer for my question, is it worth to invest into the streaming music? The same question asked in India or in France, it can be answered differently. Yes, it works, but in 5 years, this technology will stop to grow. Or no, it is not worse because this technology already on the way to be substituted by another one. Okay, so this was my idea to answer this first question. Bala, could you add something? Probably.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dmitry. I think engineered versus non-engineered are natural. That's a distinction I really appreciate in your answer. Often we think that this can be a set of data. The moment people talk about forecasting, they think everything is predictable. If you have enough data, we can predict it. That may or may not be true depending on the system itself. So a system, a collection of objects interrelated is we define a system. But there are two aspects to that, in my opinion. One is, of course, your job may be to just watch it, monitoring it. That may be your job. Or the second could be actually to do something about it. Watching may not be the only job. So there are people who monitor technologies. So for them, they look at the trends, they look at how is it that things have panned out, and how is it that things will pan out. So this is something that they use. So it could be a city, it could be a microwave oven. It all depends on what is the function that this thing that one has put together for a certain purpose is delivering. So that's the core. From what I'm just taking it off from what Professor Dmitry ended with, is we need that system for a specific function. So your job could be monitoring it. So then watch closely in what is the function, what are all the elements that go in, understand it, and then project it forward using all the data that you can do it. So that's our 4-week course. The second set of people who are not stopping themselves with just monitoring it, but are also interested in being ready for whatever it is that this technology is going to change into. For that, we will need to think about what is our context in which this technology fits in. So that's the one of the, let's say, the canvas. It's like a painting and you have a canvas, you need to know what are the boundaries of the canvas. You can't just paint everywhere, right? Same way with technology forecasting also, is that you need to know the canvas. What is the context of this particular technology for your organization? If you're working for an organization, then a lot of things may change depending on that canvas, because depending on that, you can make decisions. And that's where the title of the course comes in, the strategic decisions, because it's not going to be a straightforward thing. It's not going to be, okay, if this happens, then that happens. It never is. So you will have to look at what is the context, where is the system evolving into, how can I take a step in this context, given that I have figured out that it's probably heading in a particular direction. So I think to add to what he said, these are two things that came to my mind. One is your job. What is your job, and what is the context in which you are monitoring this whole thing? So that's my addition, Professor Dmitry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bala.
Great. So just something I would like to add based on what Professor Dmitry and Professor Bala has mentioned is based on my learnings that I also understand that we need to have some level of historical data available for a certain time period for us to understand how that particular function, like Professor Bala has spoken about, how that function has been performing over the period of time historically. And based on those data that we sort of study, we will be able to see towards the forecasting side of things. So that is also something I think would be an important aspect here. For instance, like EV vehicles or self-balancing EV vehicles, which are very nascent in the market, which we may not have may not have historical data in terms of how their performance is, how their sales record is, how good or bad they're performing in the market. So at this moment, I believe it's still very early for us to sort of consider this very limited information and forecast how EV two-wheelers are going to perform in an Indian context. So that is also something we could sort of, I thought I'll add based on what I learned from both the professors. And please feel free to correct me, professors.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's okay. It can be point of view, why not?
Yep, sure. Thank you. So quickly moving to our next question. And before I sort of ask my next question, I'd also like to request all our learners to feel free to post their questions either in the chat box here on Zoom or also on the live comment box on the YouTube channel that we are live on. So please feel free to ask your questions there, and we'll be happy to sort of point them towards the professors. The next question here is, what are the benefits of technology forecasting?
Okay. Who is going to start? Once again, me?
Please.
Okay. So about the benefits of technology forecasting, let us see the technology forecasting in the context. First of all, in order to understand the benefits of something, we need to understand what is it for and why it is about. So for this, I will try to share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see us.
Okay. The technology forecasting, in fact, this is activity in the scope of technology management. In fact, in order to gain competitive advantages, companies need to wisely manage the technology that they use, or they're supposed to use, or do they apply it. For this, they use not only technology forecasting, they use other concepts. But the idea is that we need to understand the value of certain technology from business point of view for the company. And it is not easy. Why it is not easy? Because there are plenty scenarios that we can imagine. That sometimes this is a startup company, they think that they need to invest in this technology, or this is a company which exists on the market, couple of years, they already have very successful story, but they need to understand, are they going to continue with this technology, or they need to jump to another one because some new things appear, some innovations and so on. In fact, the technology forecasting helps us to answer to the question, very simple question from business point of view, but very difficult to answer with a high level of certainty, high level of confidence. When to invest into technology and when to withdraw. And it is not that one answer is more important than another one. Both of them, they are important, because if you don't withdraw in a certain time, okay, what you can do, you will start to lose your benefits and you will just collapse the company. But if you invest to something that will not grow, you will collapse your company once again. So the value of reliable technological forecast is really critical for companies. Because if we make strategic decision, for instance, okay, we are going through to 3D printing to produce some components for automotive industry. And if we have no reliable technology forecast, this domain will grow or it will decrease, we can lose everything. And many companies, they just restart their activities or they just collapse, and we never heard about them. We can see such companies in the past, even the great companies like Digital Equipment, which were bigger than IBM at a certain time with their mainframe. Today, nobody remember what is this company. Or another story, very small company that nobody care about at the beginning. Today, they become multinational, very big corporation. So the benefit is that we have educated decision if we have reliable technology forecast. Because once again, what is a technology? This is an artificially made system, made human for human, okay, to serve certain needs. In this story, if I just look from point of view of planning, okay, we can see that whatever operational planning you are doing in a existing business, for instance, you are a production company, you are using certain machine, you have to perform certain yield, you have, operational level. But this operational level planning is based on the level of tactical level. What are we going to do and which way? And this one is based on strategic level. In fact, the decision on the level of strategies have impact to all the planning and all the activities of the company. If strategic decision is not reliable, okay, the company can struggle trying to survive by just dropping the prices and the price war, or they collapse. Or if the decision is based on the reliable forecast, the company grow and they always one step ahead their competitors. This is kind of, trying to be short with the answering what are the benefits of technology forecasting. The benefits for technology forecasting mostly for supporting strategic decision making, which is difficult because it's supposed to be for the 4 or 5 years ahead. What will happen in the next year? It's easy to forecast. No, it's not so big deal. But what will happen in a long distance, because for strategic changes on the company level, we need a time. We need to educate people. It cannot be done like one day. Yeah, this was my trial. Last question. I don't know. If I did not satisfy, just specify your question in the chat.
Sure. I think the key is what is the action that one can take in order to be ready for the future. So this is not less about which future is going to be the certain future. That's one of the key things I learned at an early stage is in technology forecasting. It is not so important as what is the forecast, as much as what are you planning to do with that forecast. So the decision making of today is going to depend on what are the possible futures. So I think one of the key benefits is that, and particularly in a let's say a high investment or a high personal involvement or low resources environment, this becomes critical as your resource allocation, your operations, your tactics, all that is going to be dependent on that particular, what's coming up. So, or what you think, or what your intuition, or what your studies are telling you, being ready for it. So, in one word, it helps you be ready for the future.
Okay. Can we go next?
Yes, we have few questions coming up on our Zoom chat as well. Anshul has posted a couple of questions. First one being, what are the barriers that prevent an invention from becoming an innovation?
Dmitry, do you want me to go first?
It's up to you. Go.
Okay, I can take that one. So, invention, this is a big, let's say, difference that one notices, that when you ask in an audience what is invention and what is innovation, you get pretty much identical answers. There is hardly any difference in the definitions that people come up with when you ask them what is an invention, and then after a while you ask them what is an innovation. So you'll say it's a creative thing that I've come up with, and that's my experience, or my little experience has been that when I ask this question to a crowd. So I want to start with the clarification that invention is about solving a problem. So if there is a problem in a system, you solve it. And one of the examples I came across was Carl Benz. He found that internal combustion engine, when placed on wheels, and he could tinker it and make it go forward. And that was his first car. So that's a great invention. Okay. Now, was it useful for Carl Benz? Yes. Other than Carl Benz, did anybody else use it? No. He had patented this idea. It came out. And did anyone else drive a car? Did it become immediately popular? No. So when did it become popular? When his wife, Bertha Benz, took that contraption and drove it to her father's place, a distance of 104 kilometers. It broke down a whole bunch of times, and she had to, imagine this is the 1880s. They're wearing those long skirts, those white ones, and she is getting down, getting her hand dirty, and all that. And eventually, she gets the car across to her father's place, 104 kilometers away. So Bertha Benz, wife of Carl Benz, was the first driver of an automobile, okay, in the world. That's when people saw, hey, that is definitely a better solution than a horse. Maybe it's a bit slow for our liking, but it is definitely a better solution. I can see how it will fit in. Then people said, hey, I want to try this too. And they started riding and then started feeling the utility of driving such an invention. So Carl Benz is the inventor. He definitely came up and perfected the automobile, but it was Bertha Benz, his wife, who had made this invention.
Excuse me,
more accessible and was useful, and showed how it can be useful for other people. Okay. Now, it was not an easy journey. As I said, this was 104 kilometers. She had only 2 sons for helping out. So the same way, so you can take this as a metaphor for any invention that you think of becoming an innovation, where it becomes useful. People see that, oh yes, it solves that problem. That's when things become an innovation. People also sort of give money, revenue numbers and all that. I'm okay with that. But I think at the basic level, if you remember Carl Benz, if he had just stuck with his invention process, it would never have become an innovation, in my opinion. Innovation is when people see the utility and start becoming, and their life becomes better than what it used to be. So that's my trial and answering the first part of it.
Thank you, Bala. I'd like just to add some numbers on this. I'm absolutely agree what you're talking about. I'd like just to add some numbers, and the numbers are the following. In fact, if we look to the distance between invention and innovation, the question becomes crystal clear that why, for instance, for electricity production, when it was invented in the beginning of 18th century, but was innovated just at the beginning of 19th century. In fact, what prevent us to reduce this distance? And there are many things that prevent to us. One of the things that we don't need simply, we don't figure out that we really need what is feasible from point of view of technology. Another thing that we simply have not enough available natural resources, like today we have not enough available resources of rare metals to make a lot of electric batteries for all electric cars that we dream about. Okay, there can be also a more important limitation. This is a limitation of knowledge. There are not enough people to commercialize the invention, because invention, as Bala already said, this is a resolving of contradiction. When innovation, this is a running regular production on the market. There is a market, there are people who are paying to use it. So, and if you look to this, it is quite surprising. Even the so ubiquitous technology like we are using today to take picture, it took 111 years from invention of photography to just make it commercial. Okay, the principal barrier, if I just try to synthesize, this is a knowledge. This is a knowledge to apply this technology, the needs, the knowledge to design this technology, to produce it, to maintain it also. And of course, the barrier can come from legislation point of view. If I take into account, for instance, autonomous car, which is available more than 10 years ago as a feasible technology, why it is still not on the street? Because from legislation point of view, we still don't know the answer for the question, if any fatality, accident, who will be responsible for? Okay. Until we have this answer clearly, this technology will still be invention, but not innovation on the market. Just to extend a bit this discussion, in fact, if you look why invention become innovation, it's always the story about improving efficiency, but not only efficiency, improving efficiency, what we need. If you look to the difference between efficiency and effectiveness, okay, the efficiency is doing things right. It means to spend less resources in order to get the result. I mean, we spend less fuel in order to, at certain speed, to reach our destination. And effectiveness, do we really need to go there? So any technology try to bring us to this area of thriving. But if effectiveness, if what we are doing with our technology is not really what we need, we will survive even when efficiency is low. Or if it does not correspond to what we need, we even will not survive. Even with a very high efficiency, we just. So whatever invention we have, we need to find a place of this invention in existing landscape of technology that we use. If we don't find the very nice idea, patentable, and described in very nice articles, it will never bring us to this rectangle. It was my kind of trial to extend a bit more what Bala answered for this question.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a second part to this question as well. What is the gap between invention and innovation, which I assume boils down to the same sort of response to the previous one as well. So I'll very quickly summarize what Professor Bala and Professor Dmitry have sort of mentioned about this thing. So as an invention, we are looking at something that is creative, unique, or trying to solve a very specific problem in a specific context. Whereas for an innovation, we are looking at that probably maybe an invention to go ahead, trying to create an impact to a set of people, trying to create being novel with the towards more than it's just being more than trying to solve a specific problem. It could be personalized into a set of people as well. Then it sort of makes sense. The invention that has been sort of carried forward could make sense to a group of people. That's when we sort of tend to call it as an innovation. So is that a fair understanding, professors? Yep.
So I have this sort of representation. So there's invention
perfect.
land and innovation land on the right side, and customer wants something and the product has to take that leap of faith or cross the chasm. So usually there are
Right.
lots of variables and lots of unknowns in between. The gap is huge when you don't understand what the customer wants. The gap is huge when you don't know what the product should do in order to bridge the gap. You also do not know if it's making enough money for your organization. Is the return on investment worth the effort in terms of people putting in the effort, or the technology being available? As we have seen, time, information, material, energy, and space, are they enough to justify this gap? So these are few things that you probably need to pay attention in order to bridge this gap. But it's always a leap of faith. Not all of us make it across this gap.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
very nice.
Okay, thank you. So we have next question coming from Bhavya.
Just a second.
Bhavya is
Just a second, please.
is from pharmaceutical background, and Bhavya wants to know how does forecasting. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Professor Dmitry is saying something.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Siddhar. I just
Please go ahead, Professor.
I like so much the picture from Bala that I'd like just to make kind of extension of this picture. Can you see my screen?
Sure.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this cartoon I retrieved recently.
Okay.
What very often happened with inventors. The inventors, they are so excited about the invention that they have this optimist bias. And the problem is, if you jump from invention to innovation, okay, we have to be more realistic. So we need to predict the length of this gap. This is what technology forecasting is doing. Okay, the technology forecasting can help us to understand this distance and can help us to be more successful and always reach from one edge to another one. That's it. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks for that, Professor. Yeah. So our next question is from Bhavya, who's from pharmaceutical background. Bhavya wants to know, how does forecasting impact pharmaceutical industry in terms of technology?
Yeah. Okay.
How does forecasting impact pharmaceutical industry in terms of technology?
Yeah, I'd like probably it's me who will start, and probably Bala will extend my answer. In fact, the technology forecasting, it's not something that make impact. Let's see the analogy. If I'm in a business of weather forecasting, okay, my weather forecast will not change what will be the weather tomorrow, but it will allow to be prepared, to decide what I'm going to do tomorrow or not to do, what kind of transport I'm going to use, or what kind of clothes or protection I'm going to use. But it's not going to change the weather. The same with technology forecasting. When we are running strategic technology forecasting, in fact, we predict what will happen in an ecosystem where, for instance, a company would like to make innovation, or new products. The pharmaceutical industry is technologies, because this is artificially made system, human for human, right? So that's why in terms of pharmaceutical industry, I don't see any, really specific situation in comparing if we predict technologies in information technologies, or we predict in transportation or space technologies. The story is the same. We are building technology, we are using technology already. What is their speed of their dissemination and growing, and how they will be substituted by another one. I'm not sure that I do satisfy the question, but be more specific in this case, probably I will be more useful.
What it also brings to mind for me is, I don't know if it was intentional, the wording of the question, how does forecasting impact an industry? So this is the what one could call a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So you predicted something and you know about the future, hence you're going to act in that way and you make the future come true. So I don't know if that's what you're hinting at in your question. So like Professor Dmitry says, your question can be taken in many ways, and many answers could actually come out of that. So perhaps a more precise question will help us give you the precise direction that you are looking for. Otherwise, we can give you 5 different answers, but if it's not useful to you, it's not good for us. So we would like you to be a little bit more specific.
Yes, I guess Bhavya is online in this call. If it's okay,
Yeah, if
Bhavya
you can
feel free
clarify that in person, yeah, that will be
Yes.
great. So if the question is can it be done in your industry, in pharmaceutical industry? The answer is yes. The first question today we answered was, is it an artificial system that we pulled together for the benefit of people? Yes. The answer is definitely yes, so we can use it. Is there enough data? Is there enough understanding of the system? The answer is definitely yes. People have been, and particularly in the last 2 years, I think it's like we've sort of skyrocketed or brought it into prominence, this industry itself, in the last 2 years in particular. Not that it was not highlighted before, but it's brought into prominence. So we definitely understand that. So can it be done? The answer is yes. But what do you specifically want to know in that is something that I would like to understand also. Bhavya, if you want to elaborate, that will be great.
Well, in the meanwhile, we can also move on to our next question.
Yeah. In fact, that also brings to me my mind one of the techniques of technology forecasting, so to speak. When I was in this project in where Professor Dmitry and I worked together as colleagues in Italy, there's a method that I came across, and both Dmitry and I can safely say that for sure are science fiction fans. So we like reading and following science fiction. One of the tools of technology forecasting that people have written about in literature is science fiction. So there are people who monitor science fiction to look at what can possibly happen in the future also as an alternate way of telling them. Some people call them futurists. Some of them call them just science fiction, plain and simple. But it is a possibility. That's, again, lots of thoughts coming to my head because of that question. Sorry.
I mean, now that you raised the point of science fiction, a lot of these biotech movies are running back of my mind, all futuristic movies.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think Robin Cook series, the entire novel series, is entirely science fiction based on bio and pharma and all that. I couldn't understand head or tail of it, but yeah, that's what he was going for.
Yeah, don't substitute one thing by another one. No, there is a technology forecasting and there is a science fiction. Those are two different, absolutely different things. One for fun, another one for strategic decision making.
Absolutely, yeah. The purpose is very different. Now I'm just saying that there is a tool available. Yeah, we're making jokes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is probably the last question of the day, right, Siddharth?
Yes, sir. We have one last question from Stella again. As future managers, how best can we make the forecasting strategic decision making more successful in practical world? So I understand how relevantly can we take our forecast into the real world is what Stella is trying to ask us.
Yes. I I think of this question as from a management sort of perspective in an organization. So
Right.
if so again, we're referring back to the very first question that we started off with is one of the things that I talked about is the context. And even in the second question we talked about it is what is the context of this particular piece of technology or whatever it is that the system that is working in the business context in our organization. Now, business is too if it's too narrow for you, think of it as an organizational context. So organizational context, what does this operate? So once you establish that boundary around which you have this context, what is it that I'm planning to do with the decisions that come out, what with the learning that I have in the project, then it is up to you to take up tools that you are familiar with as a manager and work with that. So it does not matter what the tool for you is in terms of management, but you take that and look at it from the context and see how to manage your situation. Manage if it's a product you're managing, if you're a product manager. How do I now, knowing that this is going to be what my project tells me from my application of the methodology itself, this is what I'm learning. What best can I do, and with the organization again in mind? So it could lead to some conflicts, or it could lead to some alignment. Whatever be the case, how best can I manage this in terms of now that the learning is there, how can I take it forward? So this is the one thing that comes to my mind immediately when I read this question. Dmitry, anything from you?
Yes, I'd like to start with a definition of what is management. In fact, if you look to the management, those are the planning, control, and decision making, because there are always discrepancy between what was planned and what was realized, right? So if I look from this perspective, okay, the manager, this is somebody who's responsible for this planning, control, and taking decision how to improve efficiency. What does she or does he manage, right? And improving the efficiency, it means what was planned is when we plan, we allocate resources, right? We allocate resources of time, we allocate resources, human resources, and other energy and so on. If we are more reliable with the forecasting, our plan will be more reliable as well. If we just guessing about future or dreaming about future, or we are influenced by some marketing campaign or some recent news and publications in Nature, okay? So in this case, the discrepancy between our plan and reality will be very large. So we will spend more resources. The idea of forecasting reliably is to improve quality of our plan and quality of our decision. So from this perspective, okay, the strategic decisions which are based on reliable technology forecasting, they bring the real benefits to companies and to you personally, because you will spend less resources for going much far than your competitor. Is it okay like this? Is it practical world, or we are still in a rocket science?
I was thinking of the model SIPOC. SIPOC is supplier input process output and customers. So that's one model that is used to describe the process itself. So if you know a hint of where you're headed with in terms of let's see one of the cases that we worked on. Let me give you, and we have described that in the course as well, which is the vacuum forming, right? So vacuum forming required a lot of money to be maintained. So it's not a simple investment. We are talking about a large investment and locked in for a long term, right? So a long term in time. So if you have to be really prudent and know about what's coming up in the future. So once you know that, okay, so this is not going to happen, how do you manage that now that you've taken that decision based on the analysis on your project? Now you're stuck with the decision. That is one way of looking at it. So there is, look at who's supplying this, what are the inputs, what is the process involved, what's the output that's generated out of this machine, and who is it reaching out to in terms of the customers. So now it's your job, now that you've taken this decision based on your own hunch, your own analysis, your own projects, you've realized this, then you can manage the resources in this funnel. Okay. But before this also, I was thinking, and I thought about it and said, wait a second. Before this also, you can use it to understand how your product, how your process, the whole thing works. So who's supplying this? What are the inputs that they give you? What is the process that you do at your end? And what can you give as output? And whom does it reach and how does it benefit? So overall, if you zoom out, it's a function that is delivered through this elaborate chain. So we're just trying to see which one will benefit you the most in terms of answers. This is one thing that came to my mind. A class that I attended a long time ago explaining SIPOC. So look up SIPOC model. Probably that can help you think about, okay, this is my decision. How do I use this?
Thank you, Bala. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be the last question that we have for this session.
Okay.
On a closing note, Professor Dmitry or Professor Bala, if you have anything to say or share.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you very much for all participants who are interested about this course. Thank you for your perseverance to deal with course, with the assignment that we suggest for your attention. You are more than welcome with your questions, because live session we organize in the purpose to answer your question. All materials are available for you, for your curiosity, but of course your questions can help you to progress really. I believe we answered your questions, but if not, please be more specific. We will try our best in order to satisfy your curiosity. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. One of the key things that I learned over this time is that the application of these methods in a real case really helps cement your learning. I'll keep repeating this over the rest of the sessions also, because all of us benefit from the application of these methods in a real case. On that note, I'm happy to tell you we are planning a workshop as a follow-up to this course. So we will announce the dates and time and how you can be a part of this workshop very, very soon. Once all the details are ironed out, this will be sometime in the month of June this year, after you're done with your exams and all that, or after you're done with this course. So, but our belief is that the best way to learn is to apply what you learn. So that's going to be what it is. Okay, so that's my final word, if you will, for the session.
All right. Thank you, Professor Dmitry and Professor Bala. With this, guys, if you have any more questions related to the course content or the platform or the course itself, please feel free to drop your queries on the discussion forum. You can navigate to the discussion forum through our course page. It says ask a question, and from there it will redirect you to the discussion forum. Please feel free to post your questions there, and either of us, between myself, Professor Dmitry, and Professor Bala, will be reaching out to you with our response as soon as possible. With that, we would like to end this live session, and we also have our next live session on next Monday, that is 6th of February, on the same time, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Please join us on the next live session with your queries as well, if you have any. And until then, we'd like to say bye-bye and have a good learning experience for your week 2.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Ciao.
everyone.
See-
And thank you, Professor Dmitry and Siddharth. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.